Here we go again. Okay. Are your eyes still open?
Yes. Can we start? Yes. Yes. Good evening and welcome to this press conference after today's Environment Council here in Brussels. We will begin with introductory statements by the German Environment Minister Svenja Schulze, who chaired the meeting today, followed by EU Commissioner Virginijus Sinkevicius, the EU Commissioner for Environment. And without much further ado, Frau Ministerin, Sie haben das Wort.
Minister, you have the floor. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The German presidency is almost at an end. We wanted to make Europe strong again, and we have laid down huge milestones for the climate and environmental protection. We have held the presidency during a pandemic, and that was, of course, a huge challenge. So I am extremely grateful and pleased that we could actually meet in person here today and that so many colleagues, despite the difficult circumstances, were able to travel to Brussels. In the area of climate and the environment, it is enormously important for us to work together in the EU. We need common responses to the major challenges of our era, and we have achieved that today. We had a mammoth programme today, and in usual times it would be unusual enough. But it was even more so today. Biodiversity, the circular economy, sustainable digitalisation. We made progress on many of those topics today. At the beginning of our presidency, we said that we wanted to do everything possible to have a complete decision on a climate law by the Council and to have an ambitious climate goal for 2030. 27 member states have recognised that we need this transformation, and we found it rather difficult, but we got there in the end, which I think is wonderful. 5 years after the conclusion of the Paris Agreement, the EU now has a climate law for the first time with legally binding goals for 2030, 2050 and for climate neutrality by 2050. The new climate goal of at least a reduction of 55% by 2030. This is an international example, and this is going to be perceived as such around the globe. In the EU, this is going to be a major challenge for us. A little bit of climate here, a little bit of greenhouse gases reduction there, that wouldn't be enough. We need to fully change the way we operate. And now we have the right dimension to do this. Since 1990, in 3 decades, we have achieved a reduction of a fifth of our emissions, but now we have to achieve a third reduction in 10 years. So the EU really has a leading role in the world. We now have a reasonable path towards climate neutrality in 2050. And now all Europeans, all businesses know that the fight against climate change really is the top priority in our politics. This is going to be a major task for all those responsible in political circles. Now the Commission is going to give us a huge package of legislative measures. We want to press on with the European Parliament, the co-legislator, very quickly with this climate law. There'll be a trilogue on Monday, and the talks should be finally finished under the Portuguese presidency. The new goal for 2030 will make a huge contribution to the Paris Agreement. This is our NDC, the Nationally Determined Contribution. Tomorrow, on Friday, we will be submitting this NDC to the UN, and we'll be doing something very important. We will be showing that we are living up to the commitment of the Paris Agreement. We want to submit an ambitious climate goal every 5 years. the simpler and the better reduction of greenhouse gases, the more we can be credible. And that is the point of the Paris Agreement. We have to learn from what we've done, and then we have to be more ambitious for the future. This is a very important day. It will go far beyond the reaches of the EU. Of course, individual countries will also want to increase their NDC. We want to be climate neutral by 2050. There are similar goals in China, Korea, Japan, Canada. And after the election of Joe Biden, it seems that the US is back on track. This all shows quite clearly that the Paris Agreement will indeed have new goals attached to it every 5 years. This is a very important message for the COP26 in Glasgow next year as well. I'd like also to talk about another two sets of conclusions that we adopted today. The Council conclusions on the circular economy. We now have established a sustainable product policy. The right to repair, that's a very important measure in order to avoid unnecessary waste. We also want more recyclable products on the market. The second Council conclusions, which I'd like to mention, is a real first. For the very first time, the Environment Council has made its own decision on digitalisation. This is a huge success for the German presidency, and I hope that we can do this regularly. It's quite clear that digitalisation is marching on. We have seen that in this crisis as well, and that's why we have to give digitalisation the right direction. This is a very important juncture now. We want to use the chance of digitalisation for the benefits of the environment. We want to make sure that we keep energy consumption for digitalisation down as much as possible. We want to have stricter eco-design standards as well. We want to have the introduction of product passports as well. We now have a comprehensive mandate for the Council in order to bring about measures for digitalisation. We also came to a general approach on an amendment to the Aarhus Convention. This was on the basis of a proposal from the Commission. This will mean that measures of the EU can be checked by the NGOs. There'll be important talks with the European Parliament as well, so that the Aarhus Convention can be complied with properly. And last but not least, we had a very constructive debate on the Commission's proposal on a new chemical strategy for the EU. This was a proposal from the Commission on particularly hazardous substances in consumer products. And this is now a risk-orientated management process. These are problematic chemicals which need to be managed properly. Also, we had a discussion on an amendment to the REACH regulation. We had a very fruitful discussion on this, which will continue under the Portuguese presidency. And the aim is to adopt a document at the Environment Council in March. So it's been a very fruitful day.
Dank, Frau Ministerin. Thank you very much to Minister Schulze.